Welcome back to the Rose Corner YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another conversation talk here on the Rose Corner with my guest, no other than Mr. Ricardo Robinson. Ricardo, how are you doing?
I'm fine, my brother. It's always a pleasure to be on the Rose Corner. It's a privilege, and we should take moments like these to cherish it, my brother. Always enjoy being on the Rose Corner. Yes.
I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you, and welcome. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be sort of reviewing an interested topic, an interesting case we're looking at today on the Rose Corner, and that is of the musical artist, Mr. Adidja Palmer, otherwise known as Vybz Kartel. And it's important that we look at a little background of what brought us here to the discussion today. Yes. So Vybz Kartel, whose given name rather is Adidja Palmer, pleaded not guilty to a murder charge at trial back in 2014 of the deceased Mr. Clive Lizard Williams. Vybz Kartel had previously been convicted and given a life sentence in 2011 for the murder of Clive Williams. The sentence was later reduced to 32.5 years. So let us just ensure that we get that clear.
Yes.
And in most recent times, the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council in London overturned the conviction because of allegations of jury misconduct back in 2014. So that is sort of the back history of what has brought us here today. And in most recent developments, we now understand that lawyers for Mr. Palmer and the two co-accused of the three is seeking their release from prison. And an application was made to the court just yesterday. Yes. Right. So it was also highlighted in the Gleaner recently. And let me just sort of read a little bit of what it says here. Lawyers representing Vybz Kartel and two of the three co-accused have filed a habeas corpus application seeking their release. Application was filed yesterday. That would have been May 14th. Yes. They are seeking the release of Kartel, whose real name is Adidja Palmer, also Sean Campbell, also known as Sean Storm, and Andre St. John. The fourth co-accused, Mr. Jones, has another matter before the court. And as stated before, in March, the Privy Council squashed their murder convictions and sent back the case to the Jamaica Court of Appeal for a ruling to be decided upon on whether they should be retried. Right, so that is why we are now reviewing. We're taking a look back at this case today here on the Rose Corner. Now, let me just share a quick disclaimer to the viewers. I'm going to speak for myself and then I'll allow Mr. Roberts to speak for himself. A quick disclaimer. I am not a fan of Mr. Palmer. I don't listen to Mr. Palmer's music. Yeah, let me just get that clear. I don't listen to Mr. Palmer's music. I've never been a fan of his, but what is important to understand, what is important for us to understand is that here on the Rose Corner, whatever is current, whatever news that is current in the public domain, and I feel it necessary to review it or to speak about it or to share some insight about it, I am going to do so. Yeah. So not because I am not a fan of his, doesn't mean that I'm not going to review the case or share it with the audience here on the Rose Corner. So I want to make that very important. This matters in the public domain. And if you watch the news, you would see it in the news as well. As I said, it's in the Gleaner, it's all over. So one cannot ignore it. Yeah, you cannot ignore it. So, and it's a sensitive case, and it is one of immense consequences. Yes. So I feel it is relevant for me to bring it here on the Rose Corner. So I just want to make that very, very clear. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, this is a very important case in Jamaica history and time. And this is something that is worldwide, and everybody can't wait to get to the end of this court case surrounding Adidja Palmer. One would say is that indirectly or directly, we may not be a fan of him or his music, but what we know growing up, we could not ignore his music because it was constantly playing in the taxi, in the buses, whether public buses or private vehicle or so forth, his music could be there. So you always heard his music. But each individual can take that into stride and to see if they are a fan of his music. We are Christians and child of God, so we do not listen to his music or partake in his music, but we are just looking at the case itself and the facts and the evidence that is before us and so forth. So we no longer listen to his music or part of his music, because once you're a child of God, all things has passed away, and now you becomes a new person, so you do things much different these days. But it's a must case that everybody has to talk about, whether or not you like him or not. It's a must because it's going to be crucial or consequential, so to speak. I use that term in the way forward in terms of law and how law is done / justice. And so the legal luminaries will have better terminology than I am, than just being a minister about this case. But it's something very noteworthy and something that must be speak about, because all of us in this country at some point did have to go through some cases, whether it's
Yes.
the Privy Council, the resident magistrate, appeals court, and the petty court, even school. You have some disagreements with your fellow colleague, and then a teacher has to intervene, and the principal and have to do some judicially thing there for making assessments. So yes, definitely it's a must talk about, and we are very happy from our background to speak about this from a Christian point of view. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well said. You could never say it better, Mr. Robinson. The court case of Adidja Palmer, as I shared before, this is recent developments. Yes, lawyers are now seeking the release of Mr. Palmer. And this is the backdrop, basically, of what had happened in the United Kingdom
Yeah.
recently. Uh, 60 days after the United Kingdom-based Privy Council squashed the murder convictions of Mr. Palmer and his 3 co-accused, the Supreme Court recently began a hearing after the corpus application was filed on behalf of the 3 accused for their release. Right? Attorney Isaac Buchanan, who represents Mr. Palmer, who's Sean Storm and Andre St. John, is seeking, based on what he cites as a gap in the law, to have 3 of the 4 accused freed at least.
Yes.
11 days before a retrial hearing at the Jamaica Court of Appeal. So there is a retrial that is pending, a possible retrial that is pending, that will be heard in a matter of days, actually. Right? In a matter of days. Yeah. And the retrial is set to take place on June 10th.
Yes.
Yes. It's set to begin on June 10th and is expected to last for 5 days. The question out of this, in which we're asking today on the Rose Corner, is, will they be released before June 10th? If the application was made yesterday, which is May 14th, yeah, will the judge grant that application for release between now and the 1st of June? It's a question that has many persons pondering and, assuming that it is possible that they could be released from prison and before the retrial even begins. Should they be remanded until the retrial begins, or should they be released before the retrial begins? It's an interesting question. What says you, Mr. Robinson?
It's an interesting question, and this is where the legal expert comes in and to able to break it down for us. But from our standpoint as a lay person and so forth, and the little that we know or understand about the law is that from the appeal decision takes place by the law lords in the Privy Council there in the UK, that the case has now become squashed, and heard other lawyers explain it to us, to the Jamaican public at large, especially Bert Samuels and Isaac Buchanan, that they are not guilty anymore. So the term would have to refer as that they are innocent until proven guilty up until June the 10th. So in the real question is that will they be released before June the 10th? That's the $1 million question. I wish I would have the answer. This is for the judges to decide based on the application that the lawyers would have presented to the judge or the judges, if there are more than one person there.
Yeah.
They would have put forward the case in terms of time spent, in terms of his health condition, in terms of that he's not a flight risk. All passport documents would have been held by the police or the
court.
The court. So those are 3 areas: is health, time spent, is not a flight risk, or is not a person of endangering or cause any more criminal.
And those are the bases that the attorney said that he has made the application for release on,
Yes.
The attorney said that they have a good chance on those bases. His health condition is not,
yes.
it's not as though it was before, because he has grave disease.
And so and so forth. And that is a good, but or we can be in this country as Jamaican, it's only the rich people that get bail and the little man have to stay behind bars. I'm just using the terminology, not about the economic status of his pocket now, Vybz
Right.
Kartel, but in terms of says the person in terms of status, in terms of not color now, if we say we are racial because we're all Black people, but in terms of the society that we live in and your status quo, and in terms of where you are in society. So, and I wanted to draw the same conclusion in terms of what happened to the former member of parliament for Western St. Mary, where he was denied bail as well. He denied bail.
We have a video on that coming up soon.
Yes, definitely. But I just draw the distinction to say that
the comparison.
yes, he is from an affluent family.
The
former MP, right? And remember now that we can't prove that he's guilty. So he's innocent until proven guilty.
Guilty, that's right.
But he was denied bail as well, and he's from affluent background. The same context now with Vybz Kartel. One would say he wasn't from an affluent background. So in terms of people saying that the rich will get the bail versus the poor man will not get bail. In this two-case scenario, where they want to say the former MP is not, quote unquote, not of a great affluent. Well, if you check the status and look at his background, you will know everything is coming from UK, from slavery. And you don't want nothing more than that, unless we have to go all the way to Barbados. So, but let me and Matt deal with that one over Barbados. Those understand the line that I'm trying to do. But to the meat of the matter here, to be released before June the 10th, let's put it in context, and then
the country, his supporters would erupt,
and that's
and they will be waiting on by the court, the front of the courtyard,
Chris,
front of the courthouse.
And let me tell you, let's put it in context. This that we're discussing is not about if he's guilty or if he's innocent. We're just looking at the legal aspects from a layman, a layman, not in terms of saying that we're better than the lawyers, because we're not lawyers.
That's right.
But we're just looking at to say, if he should release before June the 10th, what could be the possible impact? One, his supporters will be happy. Two, his family will be happy as well. And then three, in terms of the musical industry, would be happy. No, that doesn't stray. I'm not going more than 3 points each time I come on Rose Garden. So on the flip side of it now, if he was not to be released, one, the legal aspects of it, persons in that, as you could say, yes, the court uphold justice, they follow the teeth of the law. Second, the country would says here what justice has prevailed. The democracy of this case prevails once again. So nobody cannot say it's a hanky-panky thing. It goes through the process and everything. Yes, as everything. And then three, persons that were afraid or said that there's no justice can stand assured that there's justice still, and there's a hope to build on. You get the pandemic, because this thing, it's all about hope and justice. So the 3 years that now you just see that there is hope and justice if he was declined, because we would say yes, everything worked out perfectly fine. So it's interesting days ahead up until June.
Much interesting days ahead. Absolutely.